God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, be with you and remain with you now and
Hi there everyone, Jack here again at the Vinyl Voyage. So as you can see from the start of my video, I've put together a little intro for the channel. It's my attempt to maybe try and make the channel a little bit slicker, a little bit more professional. You guys are the judge of that. Is it, or is it just a waste of time? Should I just get rid of it? I'll let you decide. Anyway, today's video is another deep dive into some of my psych records. So some of these are new records, some of them have been kicking around in the collection for a while, but it's a little bit of a mishmash today of different types of psychedelia. So you have some classic UK psych, there's some neo-psych, there is some acid rock, kind of classic rock, classic acid rock, acid folk, a little bit, like I said, different styles. That's for me what makes collecting psychedelic records interesting. There's so many kind of different flavours and time periods that all kind of bring their own sound and their own approach to the genre. So without further ado then, I will show you the first one, which is Joy of a Toy by Kevin Ayers. This is a record that I've been after for a while, but I only picked up recently. It's a UK first press of his debut album from 1968. I think it's 68. But anyway, I love this album on the Harvest label. So I'm not a big authority on that whole Canterbury scene. I don't have in fact I've got no Soft Machine records. I don't know a lot about that scene, but I really like this. Kevin Ayers, of course, was one of the founding members of the Soft Machine, and yeah, he stayed for one album and then went and did his own thing. And yeah, this is really great, quite baroque in places, very kind of upbeat and joyful, especially that first song, Joy of a Toy Continued. And then it gets a little bit more melancholy with Town Feeling, Clarietta Rags, really cool, Girl in a Swing. Song for Insane Times brings together his old Soft Machine bandmates who play on a couple of tracks in the album. They all play on Song for Insane Times, and Robert Wyatt plays drums, I think, on all the tracks, bar one. But yeah, really cool. That's the back cover. Yeah, the whole host of instruments on here. The orchestration's fantastic. There's Celeste, flute, piccolo, recorder, oboe, kazoo, trombone, Italian guitar, electric guitar, string bass, electric bass, organ, string bass. Surely all basses are string basses. I don't know what that means. Alto melodica. The whole host of different instruments. But yeah, it's really interesting album. I'd like to get a few more of Kevin Ayers' solo albums, but I really like this. It's got like a kind of that kind of almost nursery rhyme kind of appeal to it, especially that Joy of a Toy Continued, the first song, and some of the other songs are quite childlike and innocent sounding. Yeah, he's got a really nice kind of smooth baritone voice as well, and like I said, the orchestration's just fantastic. So that's first up. Loved listening to this over the last couple of weeks since I got it. It's been a really nice copy, and a little bit of wear to the sleeve, but on the spine, but I can live with that. So that's the first one. Next up, another one that I've been after for a while, an album that I've loved since a teenager. It is Gorky's Zygotic Mynci from 1995. This is their third album on Angst Records. So if you've heard of what's called Bwyd time, so Bwyd is Welsh for food, so food time. But check out that cover. I love Gorky's Zygotic Mynci. Excellent stuff. So this is kind of poppy, dreamy psych in places. In other places, it's quite folky. So if you've heard of Gorky's Zygotic Mynci before, they were a 90s band out of Wales who were kind of big acolytes of Kevin Ayers, who we just looked at. I think, yeah, he was one of their favourite artists. And they started putting out, there's the band there, they started putting out these kind of self-produced cassettes. Then they put out a 10-inch album called Patio that John Cale, their fellow Welshman, called the greatest album of all time. So John Cale was like a super fan of Gorky's Zygotic Mynci. Then they put out Tatty, which is a great album as well. It's not got a vinyl release, and then they put out this Bly Time. But yeah, this is just fantastic. There's some really, really good songs on here. Miss Trudy, the second track, is absolutely fantastic. They were a band who, led by Euros Childs and a chap called, his name John Lawrence, Richard James. These three lads met at school, and as schoolboys they formed Gorky's Zygotic Mynci, put out these cassettes, as I said, and then the kind of purveyors of kind of folky elements in places, like the John Lawrence songs sound more folky to me, but half the songs are sung in Welsh, a bit like Super Furry Animals, and some of them are sung in English, but a lot more psychedelic than Super Furry Animals. They sound a lot more authentic, I think. But this song, Miss Trudy, I think it was a song about their high school, because they formed in high school, their high school music teacher. And it's all about how she trashes the music room and trashes all the violins. There's these dreamy recorders in the song that just sound fantastic. And then some of the other songs are more upbeat, songs like The Game of Eyes, which is just brilliant, just like kind of pretty insane sounding. Eating Salt is Easy is really good. Pat Cheeto or Palm, which means in Welsh, let me see, what is that? Don't Cheat on Palm, which is a really cool song. Like the Welsh sounding, the Welsh language songs are really excellent as well. But yeah, Alan Holmes produced the album, and I think he did the artwork as well. And then the engineer who went on to be the producer later, Gorwell Owen, he plays synthesizer on a number of the tracks. But yeah, really, really good. Some of you might know Euros Childs from moving away from Gorky's Zygotic Mynci. They toured with Teenage Fan Club for a while and became friends with Teenage Fan Club. And now Euros Childs is the keyboard player with Teenage Fan Club. But yeah, this is fantastic. It's just really, really good. I'll just show you the label. Like I said, on that Angst label, it's not such an easy one to come upon. It's, I suppose, fairly rare, but it's just, yeah, it's just really, really, really good. I loved this in high school, and this was really, I suppose, a kind of band out of time. This was released in '95. I'm struggling here to put this back in. This is what 2 Stella do to you. 2 Stella, and you can't even get a record back in its sleeve. I'm getting old. Yeah, so this was released in '95, and in '95, I suppose that was the height of Britpop, where you had, yeah, the likes of Blur and Oasis going at it. And for me, Gorky's Zygotic Mynci were like a kind of band out of time. They'd probably do better if they were around now with the whole psych revival over the last few years, but at the time, they did okay. I suppose they had a few kind of minor chart successes, but they weren't overly well known. But they're really, really underrated, and I would highly recommend this album. I was actually given a lot of their earlier stuff, their cassette releases, when I was living in Northern Ireland after I just joined the military. I met this Welsh guy who was like a Gorky Zygotic Mynci uber super fan. I think, yeah, I might have actually stalked the band. He was like obsessed with them, and he gave me all their tapes, early cassette releases, and early versions of Tatty, this album before this one that doesn't have the vinyl release. And yeah, he was actually a bit demented. He was, yeah, he was obsessed with them, but he just went on about them all the time, which I'm starting to do now. So let's move on. But yeah, listen to Miss Trudy by Gorky Zygotic Mynci. If you like psych, you will not be disappointed. Next up then, so we've had Kevin Ayers, who's influenced Gorky Zygotic Mynci. This is a band that were influenced by Gorky Zygotic Mynci. This band is called Melyn, which means yellow mill. and they're also a Welsh band, and this is their debut album called Melyn the Hill that's just come out, and it's fantastic. Like I said, very influenced by Gorky's. Like Gorky's Zygotic Mynci, they sing half the songs in English, or most of the songs probably in English, and some of the songs in Welsh. And I was bought this by one of my good friends, one of my good school friends, who we have this kind of record club where we buy each other a record each month, and this is what he chose for me this month, and it was a fantastic choice because I absolutely love this. They're a new band, Melyn. I hadn't heard of them before, but I just instantly liked this. It really appealed to me. So it's a bit of a concept album, and the band, you can see the band here in this mill, and the idea behind the concept is this kind of imaginary world that the band have created, and this idea that mills are centres for music and making music, and that's what makes the people happy. And the story, or the rough story within the album, is that someone from a neighbouring town wants to build a parking lot and wants to close down one of the mills in this kind of idyllic society, and how that kind of makes everybody unhappy. But I think it's a bit of a metaphor. Well, it is a metaphor, the band have said, for the amount of small venues that are now closing around the country. So while stadium gigs and, like, you know, big bands like Oasis or people like Harry Styles or whoever can sell out stadium tours and they can have great success, great grassroots bands are starting to struggle because a lot of the traditional venues that would have been used for young up and coming bands to come through are closing down across the country. And it was their, like, kind of little statement about that. But yeah, it's really, really dreamy. There's so many great instruments on here. It's such a happy album. It's so upbeat, and it's like, so this second song here, Vitamin D, that like almost is the perfect description of this album, because it's like almost like sunshine on wax. It's like a shot of vitamin D straight to the brain when you listen to this. The band here, just show you that in our gatefold. They're supposedly amazing live. I've not heard them live, but they're kind of a mixture of, 1 minute they sound like Gorky Zygotic Mynci, so it's this kind of dreamy Welsh psych pop. The next minute they go completely countrified, and they have like a really kind of country rock sound. The next minute there's surf rock in there. The next minute it's art rock, and they're starting to sound like, I don't know, like Roxy music with this these kind of great sax passages. But yeah, the band are Kai Dyfon on drums, Garmin Rees on bass guitar and backing vocals, Gruff Glynn, Dylan Morgan, Rodri Brooks on pedal steel guitar, and Will Barrett on lead guitar. But yeah, really good. Check out a song on here. Listen to Fantastic Food. Fantastic Food's a great track. The first side is more Gorky sounding. Gorky, sorry, Zygotic Mynci, it's more psychedelic, and then that second side breaks out the country. And at times it's almost like some of the music sounds very, very cartoonish, almost like the music could have belonged on an episode of The Magic Roundabout or Chorlton and the Wheelies or something like that. It's very cartoonish and upbeat and happy and easy to get into. But I think that shouldn't take away from how musical the band are, because yes, they sound really, really accomplished musicians, and it doesn't sound like a kind of throwaway kind of album. It sounds something that has kind of real depth, and I think they've got a great career ahead of them. So that is, yeah, Mill on the Hill by Melyn. Okay, getting back into more classic psych, classic rock territory here with Steppenwolf and The Second, which is no surprises there. It's their second album, and it's really, really good. This is a Malaysian press I picked up in a collection, and I hadn't heard this album before. It's really, really good. I really, really like it. Faster Than the Speed of Life is a fantastic opener. I love the song Step on the Grass. Sorry, Don't Step on the Grass, Sam, which is like a kind of pro-marijuana song. 28 is really good. That was written by their producer, Gabriel, what's his name? McClare, which is cool as well. All about like dating a 28-year-old lady. Then you've got Magic Carpet Ride, which is obviously the big hit with like that fantastic Hammond organ and classic acid rock sound. Yeah, the whole album is really good. I'll just show you the label. I think obviously the lead singer's John Kay has got a fantastic kind of rock voice. I love the lead guitar in here is great as well, but it's the songwriting that makes this album. You know, it's certainly not it's not like a jammy album. The songs are quite concise and well structured and yeah, really catchy. Spiritual Fantasy, I think, is the only one that's a little bit more of a acoustic number. That the rest of them are quite kind of acid rock with a heavy Hammond organ sound as well. You hear, you know, everybody will know Magic Carpet Ride. Yeah, really good. I love this. So that's Steppenwolf the second. Next up then, we have Rising Fish by Steve Hillage. And this is from 1975. And I wasn't so familiar with Steve Hillage. I picked this up from my Dundee lot. So I wasn't overly familiar with Steve Hillage. He was a guitar player in Gong. Before that, Ezekiel and Can, psychedelic bands from that Canterbury scene. Again, not overly familiar with them, but he comes from like a kind of long lineage of kind of psychedelic groups. And on this album, he's kind of backed up, as much as it's a solo album, he's backed up by the rest of Gong. And it's, as you can see, it's got this kind of fish theme, Fish Rise, and I don't know what that's all about, to be honest. I don't know if he's a keen fisherman. You can see him fishing up here. And then playing the guitar when he's fishing. It doesn't sound like it's from 1975, this. Sounds earlier, but he calls himself Steve Hillfish. And then Pierre Melyn, the drummer from Gong, plays the batterfish. Dave Stewart plays the piano fish. So it's just constant gobbledygook about fish. And then the songs, the salmon song, the salmon pool, swimming with the salmon, king of the fishes. That big fish theme for some reason. I like my fish from the chippy with chips and salt and vinegar. That's the way I like my chips, my fish. But Lindsay Cooper plays the bassoon fish. Lindsay Cooper there, who is the bassoon player. She played with Comus, the acid folk band, and she played with Henry Cow as well. But yeah, all these other guys, they're all gong players. But yeah, this is really good in terms of the music. It's very spacey, quite psychedelic. It's mainly made up of these three music suites. So the Solar Music Suite, the Salmon Song, which is a number of pieces of music, and then Afterglide or Glide, the last kind of suite, which is a number of passages as well. And you've only really got this short one here, Fish, which is kind of ambient sounds, and it's very short. And then Meditation of the Snake. But yeah, the guitar work on here is absolutely stellar. It's not normally my thing, kind of jammy bands or kind of extended guitar solos, but Steve Hillage is an absolute virtuoso. His guitar playing sounds so fluid and smooth and really psychedelic in places rather than proggy for me. This, I said, it kind of space rock with lots of kind of ambient synthesizers and different instruments, but really interesting. It's just on that Virgin label, a green label there. Certainly worth a listen if you're into psychedelic music. Like I said, some of the guitar playing on here is absolutely brilliant, and I really should check out more of Gong and Ezekiel and Can. I'm not familiar with those bands really at all. Yeah, there we go. That is Fish Rising. Next then, another one for my incredible string band collection. This is Wee Tam, and this was I think their fourth album basically, but it was a double, so it was called Wee Tam and the Big Huge, and that was the way it was released in Europe. In America, it was split into two separate releases. So there was the Wee Tam and there was the Big Huge. So I've got an American release here. But yeah, this is a really, really nice album. It's probably a little bit more accessible than 5,000 Spirits or Layers of the Onion or The Hangman's Beautiful Daughter. It's not quite as, the song structures are a little bit more traditional, and it's not quite as experimental as those other two albums, but I think the songs are equally as strong. Yeah, it's a good album. It just means that I'll need to get the big, huge side as well. So this is on Elektra Records, and like their previous albums, they were a band that were discovered by Joe Boyd, obviously the famous folk producer, and this is no different. But yeah, I really like this. Again, Robin Williamson and Mike Kerrin, two multi-instrumentalists, heading up the band, and they play a host of different instruments on here: harpsichord, organ, whistle, gimbri, sitar, yeah, loads of stuff, violin. So there's still all these kind of different exotic instruments, and you still get those lovely backing vocals from, is it Rose Simpson and Licorice McKechnie, which kind of offset their vocals really nicely. I would say this is probably a little bit more Americanized than the two previous albums. I think Incredible String Band had toured America prior to recording this, and you can hear a little bit of more American influence in songs like Log Cabin, Home in the Sky, which is washboard and violin. It almost sounds a little bit like Bob Dylan circa the Basement Tapes. But then on other tracks, you got that sitar and the Half Remarkable Question. Yeah, a lot of these are just slightly more accessible, I think, than the previous two albums. So I've really enjoyed listening to this. It was a new one for me, Wee Tam by the Incredible String Band. Quality acid folk out of Edinburgh. Alrighty, last one then. And it is another old favourite of Montreal. And this is, I think this is their 10th album from 2010 called False Priest. And it's a double album. It's got that fantastic artwork that you see in pretty much all the of Montreal albums. And I think it's normally, I'm right in saying it's normally Kevin Barnes's brother that does the artwork, but it's Kevin Barnes himself that does the artwork for False Priest. Yeah, this is a cool album. Psychedelic in places, but not maybe in the traditional sense. If you know of Montreal's music, you know that there's lots going on in every single song. There's time shifts continuously. There's loads of different instruments. The bass pings all over the place. There's synthesizers, trumpets, guitars, all the rest of it. But this is actually quite R&B influenced. It's a little bit more collaborative because I think the previous albums were Kevin Barnes pretty much doing everything himself. But on this one, you know, you have Janelle Monáe sings with him on a track, and so does Solange Knowles, I think is that Beyonce's sister. So there is a bit more of an R&B influence, but there's still a real psych influence as well. I'll show you the inside. I love that opening track, I Feel You Strutter, is really cool. The third track, Coquette, is a little bit more traditionally psych. The guitars sound more psychedelic. Godly Intersects is really cool as well, but it's just the number of ideas that Kevin Barnes just pushes into every single song. He just crams so much. There's not really much space, but that Rising Fish album, it's quite spacey, and there's room for the guitars to stretch out and for you to really focus in on them. Whereas on an album like this, I think Kevin Barnes must have ADHD because there's just constantly new instruments popping in and out and lots happening. And yeah, it's like a pretty, I think, quite a full-on listen, as are a lot of Montreal albums. But yeah, they covering the similar themes to what they normally do as well. They're usually to do with relationships and sex and breakups and all that kind of thing. I think Kevin Barnes pours his heart onto his sleeve when he writes an album. Yeah, I love this. You never know what to expect with Montreal, and like I said, there's always loads happening in their songs. So for me, it's always an interesting listen, and especially when the songs are good. And while maybe not their best album, still an interesting and enjoyable listen. So that is False Priest of Montreal. So there we go. That's what I've been listening to over the last couple of weeks. Psychedelic record-wise, I'm always listening to records or listening to music in the car. So it's not only psych stuff that I'm listening to, but yeah, really enjoyed listening to these albums over the last couple of weeks. And some of them are new pickups for me, like the wee Tam I picked up at a record fair recently. Always love to add more incredible string band to the collection. The Steve Hillage as well, I've had for a little while, but it took me a little bit longer to get into that one, but I really enjoyed listening to it over the last few days. Great stuff, and like I said, some of them are old favourites. The Bwide Time by Gorky, Zygotic, Mynci, absolutely love, and yeah, it's great to finally have it on vinyl. But yeah, let me know in the comments, do you enjoy any of these albums? Are any of them favourites? Any of them that you would like to listen to? Any stories about listening to them? I always like to interact in the comments. It's always great to hear what you think. And like I said, with the intro, is it a thumbs up, is it a thumbs down, or is it just, yeah, whatever? Who cares? Give me a like in the video if you wouldn't mind. It always helps the videos as well. And until the next time, cheers for watching, and I'll see you later.